Content warning. The stories and themes shared throughout this podcast may contain themes that can be distressing for you. If needed, please pause and do what you need to do to take care of yourself. If needed, please reach out to a mental health professional for support.
Welcome back to another episode of Resilient AF with Blair and Alana, Bed Edition.
Here we are. We're in the bed after a lovely, lovely couple of days here we are in LA right now, and we just completed a 2-day stretch in the griefy world. So the griefy gals joined. Can you tell? Can you tell we're tired?
Say it again?
No.
Okay.
Well, this is us. End Well, the End Well conference, as well as Grieftastic book fair, kind of like Scholastic book fair, but for grief.
So last time we spoke, I was getting ready to go to Australia. So right from leading a grief trip, co-facilitating a grief trip in Australia, I flew from Australia to LA for a couple days before Alana came to recalibrate. Had some meetings. Alana joined. She flew in from Winnipeg, and we were so excited because this is the first time we actually, in a while, in this space where we actually got to be participants in a way of not presenting or being on. And we got to actually experience something for the first time. Last year, I watched End Well virtually online, and it was so inspiring. And I said, Alana, we have to be there next year. And as soon as tickets went on sale, early bird, we got our tickets. And it was one of the best conferences I have ever seen. Ever seen. And it's like TED, but with a grief end of life focus. There was speakers, a breakout, and some of the most phenomenal people I've ever met waiting in line for cookies or snacks or just to get in. And I think, like, before we talk about the other event, Grieftastic, let's talk about maybe some of our more favorite experiences from End Well. Besides meeting all the phenomenal people who probably are now lifelong, friends, Alana, let's talk about maybe some of your favorite talks. Yeah, let's talk about your favorite talks.
Okay. Well, a little disclosure here for those who are listening. A few days ago, was officially, well, not quite, but I have suspected or / confirmed ADHD and started medication. You would never really expect it, I think, for me, unless you knew me very well. I'm very an attentive type. And so one of the speakers was Dr. Sasha Hamdani. We love her. I've been actually following her on TikTok for probably like 5 years, since she started during the pandemic. And she talked about how neurodivergent brains grieve and how to help the neurodivergent brains. She used the term like my brain was broken. And it's so interesting because Blair actually used that term when our mom was dying. She kept being like, my brain is broken. Sorry, that was a little dramatic, but true. And so she had a wonderful talk and shared a little bit about her grief story. Another part I loved was in my breakout, I went to view a documentary called The Other Side. And then a panel on medical assistance in dying. And in Canada, MAID is legal with parameters and basically followed under the criminal code. And so it's very specific. And I learned that medical assistance in dying in the States is very different. And it's state by state legislation of who can do it, if you have to have residence or not. And it was very fascinating to learn about this woman's advocacy work in getting access to MAID as an out-of-state resident, and then advocating for her own state. It was so well done, and there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Like near the end of the film, it was all you heard was sniffles. And I left a bit early, like in the panel. I heard that this was the short version. Like we didn't even get to see the full version. We only saw the 50-minute version rather than the 90-minute version. So I need to find it. It was amazing. How about you? What were your favorite parts?
I mean, I love meeting new people, especially because sometimes I feel like the work that we do in the grief space is quite siloed. And to be in a room of people where I feel like I just belong and that the work we do really matters and supported by my peers, like I felt like I was in the right place at the right time. And every conversation I had was someone who is doing work in the grief or end of life space in some capacity. And some of these people I was meeting, I've been following online for a while. And so it was really cool to meet these people that I've built these online relationships with or like have online fangirled over. So I think meeting new friends and people that I've been connected with online and meeting people from around the world that would we have ever met in person if it wasn't for this conference, I think was my favorite bit. Did you want the mic? Okay, hold on.
Speaking of that, I just want to give a special shout out to,
That's meds wearing off.
I did not interrupt. I put my finger up.
You asked me what my favorite thing was, and I was answering.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, thank you for sharing the microphone. Um, sisters. So one of my favorite moments of people I met. So I had been following her for quite some time on Instagram, Tasha Faruqi of the Faruqi Five. You should all follow her. And she talks about her account is about her family, specifically her 13-year-old daughter, Soraya, who's in hospice. She's a medically complex youth who is not getting better, and they have very open and honest conversations about end of life. And so she happened to ride with us in an Uber on the way back, and I was very excited.
You know, I can't remember all the speakers' names because, well, it's past my bed. It's almost past my bedtime. And what, so there was Joelle, and she's the grave lady. Yeah, is it great? The grave lady? And Joelle Simone. And she spoke about ritual. And I thought that was really beautiful because I think ritual is such an important part of life and end of life and afterlife and everything in between. And also, I think my friend Rebecca spoke and she talked about grief in the workplace. And was that the first time you heard her speak? Did you follow her on social media before?
I don't think I did, but I immediately, like, my head was hurting from nodding at the whole time.
She's a phenomenal storyteller. She is Grieve Leave is the name of her company. And I think Griefed Up might be the name of her podcast. I can't remember right now. I'm sorry, Rebecca. Don't hate me. My brain hurts from all the learning. But she's just a phenomenal public speaker. And, you know, I'm going to put all these links in the show notes I'm going to put a link to End Well so you can see who the speakers are. There wasn't a bad speaker. There wasn't a bad experience. Like even the gluten-free, dairy-free cookies were amazing. And the venue and everything. The only complaint was that it was pouring rain and no one can control that except Mother Nature. But it was just amazing. And so some of these connections, it's like we shared an Uber ride with a couple of people and it felt like in that 10-minute ride, it's like we just developed this lifelong relationship. And then that evening, you know, sitting around, hanging out in the hotel in the lobby and people coming and going and getting to have more of a conversation was amazing. Luckily, we stayed at the hotel where a lot of people are staying, including the speakers. And we actually had to leave the conference early, so we're going to have to catch some of the recordings of it because we were filming for a documentary, and we'll share more about that later. But Alana and I, and the Global Resilience Project, and our story of community and meaning making will be featured in a documentary and we're just like very honored to be included in this with some legends in the grief space, but also the support of the grief community with the work that we're doing in the Global Resilience Project. To me, it's like very surreal because we built what we needed and we're helping so many people. And this is going to help us reach our goal of 888 million people being inspired to strengthen their resilience muscle. Did you have anything you wanted to add about day one?
We just had a very lovely dinner with,
Did you talk about Grieftastic yet?
no,
Okay.
lovely dinner with the creator of the documentary, one of the co-creators, Grant.
Oh, that day.
And then I topped my day off by seeing Wicked for Good, which was amazing and actually very apt timing. Just there's a lot of grief within it, and I've been listening to one song on repeat since For Good.
and she made a reel, which showcased our mom, and then I cried multiple times. Okay, so then the next day was Grieftastic, and it's like a scholastic book fair, but for grief books, but griefier, but also vibrant colors, brilliant marketing. And last year I heard about it for the first time, and it was the first year they ran it. This is the second year. And so we went to the Bestie VIP brunch, and we got to meet basically other celebrities in the grief space and people that are so inspiring that have inspired our work, who are just doing really cool stuff, really phenomenal, innovative people in like the grief and resilience space. There was a panel discussion, and then it opened up to the public. And it was a book fair. So there were books to buy, and then there were different panel discussions. Some of our friends that we met the day before were on panels, and we made some really beautiful connections. And what I really loved was like, I know people online, and I was meeting people in person, but not necessarily in the beginning of our deep conversations connecting the dots. That the person I was having this deep and meaningful conversation was someone that I was connected with online and very inspired by. And I like that approach anyways, because I don't need to research people, know who they are. I'd rather have these authentic conversations than seek out the celebrities or those people and fangirl, because that allows me to come at the conversation in a different way than being like starstruck. And I'm always like that. Like I also, even if I did research, I have trouble, like someone I see on an Instagram like grid photo versus in real life, often we all look a little different. And so some of the conversations were just so beautiful, and the support we got for what we're doing and the work that we're doing was just, it's just incredible. It's absolutely incredible, the support that we're getting from these New York Times bestsellers and people featured in like New York Times and Forbes and People and National Geographic and all these massive publications, Harvard Business Review, wanting to help lift up our mission. And I like, words can't describe how grateful I am that I felt held and I felt loved. And it's hard because like we aren't following a blueprint to grow this community. You know, we know like, you know what we're doing. We're also working on a TV show. We have some, you know, quirky, fun like clothing that we're going to be dropping over the next year, just trying out some new things. We're publishing 2 new books. So the first weekend of December, we're going to be in New York for Resilient AF Skin Deep Stories book launch. We are having another book launch for Resilient AF Stories of Resilience Volume 3 in March in New York. We're just trying to make a difference and create these unique, special spaces for people to share their stories and strengthen their resilience muscle, and for people to recognize us in person because they follow our work online was so special. And for those people who were like, you're familiar, and I'm like, I follow you, and then they were like, oh wow, yeah, this is the work you're doing. And for other people to put the pieces of the puzzle together, it was like this beautiful synergy of like, how can we help each other, how can we lift each other? And so graciously, Grieftastic allowed us to put up some marketing information about the Global Resilience Project. So we had a huge banner with a QR code promoting everything we're doing, including the books that we already have published, promoting them to the world of grief authors and grievers.
Yeah, you said that beautifully. Yeah. Yeah, Grieftastic was really fun.
Fantastic.
It was fantastic. It was Grieftastic, actually. And so it's interesting. At the beginning of the year, I set this goal for myself on my bingo card, which we've referenced before, that I wasn't going to buy any books this year. I was going to mostly do library or Spotify, Libby, just because I have a little bit of a book addiction. And what is it, bibliophile? I would say I'm a bibliophile. And so I had been doing so well, had not bought one book this year. Well, at Grieftastic, I kind of blacked out
Addict's an addict.
and I bought like 6 books. I was like, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this.
Blacked out. Alana's like, I just bought so many books. She didn't even tell me.
Yeah. It happened very fast. Um, and like I'm very excited to read them all. Like I started one by Samantha Rose. And I'm going to,
She's our friend that I'll tell you the story about Samantha in a second.
and I couldn't put the first chapter down. So I finished the first chapter, and my plan is to read it on the plane tomorrow. Um, by the time this comes out, my hope is I will have been finished it and been so immersed, which I will be because she's a fantastic writer. Anyways, so that was a highlight for me because now I have all these new books. I don't get to mark this off the bingo card, unfortunately. But you know what? You win some, you lose some. And I would say I did 11 months. And this, I feel like it's okay. Like these are all wonderful books of people I've now met and I'm supporting them. And so this doesn't feel bad. It feels great.
Okay, so we can't wait for next year. We're like, as soon as tickets are on sale for both, we're fucking in. Like, here we are. We're already here. Count us in. Like, I cannot wait. Sold. This was the best conference we've probably both ever been to, ever. So back to Samantha Rose. So my breakout that I went to was I went to meditation and a sound bath. And I was excited because I was like, I'm going to get to lie down and close my eyes. That's and like relax and take a minute to myself. But like the room unfortunately was like a little chilly and I was in a skirt and I was kind of on the ground. And anyways, I was starving. Because I like wasn't eating as much because I was just chatting and connecting with people. So I was trying to snack on some peanuts and I was chatting with some new friends and I met Sam. But at the same time as meeting Sam, as I breathed in while chewing a peanut and I started choking. Like I'm talking like I could not stop coughing. Like I was making a scene and like this is a quiet room. So like I had to excuse myself, came back still choking. I was like couldn't really get to know her. We did this most beautiful meditation with like, you know, singing bowls. And then I knew that her mom had died and I wanted to know more about it. I knew she wrote a book and then I choked. That's all I got. And then so after this meditation, my choking obviously, thank God, went away. And I was able to talk more to her because part of it was we could share who we visualized in this and she didn't share. And so I asked her what the name of her mom is, and it's Susan. And we just started this beautiful conversation. And then like we basically spent the rest of the day together. And we learned that she's an author and that her book was going to be in Grieftastic, but we just fully hit it off with Sam. And it was just like one of the most delightful surprises. And it all is because I choked on a peanut in our sound bath. So, but yeah, she's actually a ghostwriter and she teaches writing and her book is just phenomenal. Like her job is writing and she's written many great things, including New York Times bestseller. So if Alana loves it, I know I'm going to love it and I'm excited to read it. And, but yeah, Sam was definitely a highlight of the whole weekend. And so shout out to you, Sam. And just like yeah, she was definitely like a highlight and she's a super funny person. But yeah, Grieftastic was amazing. So thanks, Megan, for putting it on. And if you are curious about this, like I've had a couple of our authors even reach out on social, like maybe I need to be here next year. And if you want to know more about it, connect with us on social, Global Resilience Community, and ask us about it. But like, these are our people. These are our people. We also had a meeting with our manager and one of our executive producers on the TV show. But if you want to know more about that, you're going to have to go to our Patreon. The link is in our show notes. But things are starting to move forward, and we ended up having a 4.5 hour meeting with her. She came to our hotel. We thought it'd be an hour drink, and it was a 4.5 hour hilarious, emotional roller coaster of learning all about her learning about us, the grief world, and beyond. So our Patreon link is in the show notes. If you want to learn more about that, you got to come over to our Patreon. So before we wrap up, I'm going to pass this over to Sister.
I was grabbing McGrabbersons there, almost trying to grab the mic from her. I just want to say she's also our friend.
Who?
Our manager, co-exec, like she's also a friend.
Like, what are we talking about?
Yes. And I also want to add, we had met a couple other people after the events too that were wonderful. And yeah, so the best thing is like staying in this hotel, running into people the morning after, the afternoon after, before. A couple of our authors were here, and I got to meet people who I've only seen their names on emails, like Dr. Heather Taylor. So that was really exciting. There's so many, Stephanie. I can name them all, but then that would you should just follow us and follow them.
Amazing. And just like I know I was going to talk about the grief trip in Australia, But basically, it was fucking phenomenal. It was 2 weeks. If you want to go on a grief trip where you're going to cool parts of the world, working through your grief, grieftrips.com. Our next trip is in February to the Maldives, and then we have Bali in April, Portugal, August. We're not going to dive too deep into that today because Rachel was on the last episode, and I just think that the website is very explanatory. I'm a co-facilitator on those trips, and you get to come and you get to do cool things, and we work through navigating your grief, following the Navigating Grief framework, and it's a really special experience. So also thank you, Rachel, for creating that space. And we had a lot of people actually talk about travel and using travel as healing, and I couldn't agree more. But thank you for tuning in to another episode. We are launching our book very soon, so get ready for all the spam. We're ready for you to buy it, help us become a bestseller. Resilient AF Skin Deep Stories, coffee table style book showcasing tattoos of resilience from around the world. And remember, you're not alone. You don't have to go through it alone. We're here to hold your hand and be there in the darkness with you. Walking towards the light. Like, it doesn't have to be lonely. It's scary, but we're here to do it with you. And just remember, friends, you are resilient
AF.
AF. That's a wrap for another episode of Resilient AF with Blair and Alana. And thank you for listening. Are you feeling inspired to bounce forward?
Let's connect at theglobalresilienceproject.com, where you can read many stories of resilience, buy our books, shop our clothing line, learn more about how to strengthen your resilience muscle, be empowered, and more.
Remember, friends, you are resilient AF.